This is a Kurapika X listener fanfic written by me, Ginger Lee, titled My Imperfect Princess, Chapter 2. I was reading as the two were talking to each other. Personally, I was done with my studies and was reading a book when Kurapika announced that my father has returned. Before I sat aside the book in hand, getting up. But as soon as I got up, I released the hand onto the edge of my table. My head spun a little from the sudden change of position. I assumed they noticed, 'cause I felt a hand hold on to my back along with my free hand. "Lady YN, are you alright?" the phlegmatic voice asked as I waited a little longer for my head to stop spinning before answering. "Yes, thank you." I assume I stood up too quickly. I looked back up to see Melody holding a cup of tea for me, before fixing my posture and taking the cup of tea slowly out of Melody's hands, while I slowly sipped on the lemon-tasting water as she said, "Lemon water is good to prevent blackouts and migraines." I nodded and placed the empty cup on the table as Kurapika let go of my back and hand. We soon made our way down the hall, going to my father's office to greet him. They walked behind me as we approached his study. I knocked on the door softly before entering. "Father, I'm glad you've arrived home safely." He only nodded and waved me off, not even looking up at me for even a second. I bowed, leaving the room as he said, "One of you two, go take care of Neon instead." Shocked, the two only bowed slightly as I curtsied, saying, "I'll be taking my leave now." But as I turned to open the door, he got mad and threw what I assumed was a vase that collided with my back. As he yelled, "Can't you shut up? I don't care for a useless, worthless piece of trash like you. Why can't you be like your sister?" He kept on yelling insult after insult while whipping me with the whip he stores in his desk. I only laid there, biting on my lip to prevent myself from making a sound, as the smell of blood flooded my senses, flowing out of the inner of my clothes when he stopped, going back to his desk before yelling, "Get out, now!" As I shakily got up and bowed, the blood flowing down my back, I turned and walked out even though I felt faint, black spots appearing in my line of sight before the door closed. Walking a few steps forward, I suddenly felt my body fall face first as everything went black. The last thing I felt being someone holding me by the back, causing a sharp pain to course through my body, while I heard the two guards calling out to me. I woke up a few hours later to see Melody sitting on a chair, asleep. I sat up, looking around to see it was already dark out. I took my phone to check the time. 10 p.m., it wrote. I noticed that my clothes were changed as well, and the wound was bandaged up, when I heard, "Oh, Lady YN, you're awake." I'll go get some food, Melody said sleepily, getting out of her seat and walking out before I could even stop her. I sighed and got up from the bed, feeling a sharp pain but still pushing through, making my way to my closet to clean up the blood from this morning, and going back before Melody returned. It had been a while since Melody left, and I was reading a book when the door opened to reveal Kurapika holding a tray. He entered, closing the door behind him before walking towards me, saying, "I noticed Melody looked tired and told her to go get some rest." Handing me the tray with a bowl of porridge as I nodded and asked, before eating, "What happened?" He looked at me for a second before sitting down on the chair where Melody once sat and started. "Well, after we left your father's office, you fainted, but before you could hit the ground, I pulled you into my arms. That's when I saw blood staining every inch of my arm and your back. So we rushed you back here to your room, and Melody changed you, but my other colleague was the one who helped you with the bandage." As I went over to Neon's room to check on her, but I didn't understand. She already has 3 guards. "And if you may, can you tell me why your father punished you?" I nodded, putting the tray with the now empty bowl aside before answering him. "I see, so that's what happened. And as for your first question, it is because Neon has the ability to tell your future, if she has the necessary information needed. And secondly, I will not be sharing that for reasons that I also will not like to share. I also assume that Neon asked you not to call her by lady?" I asked him. He nodded as I shook my head. We sat in silence before he got up and left with the tray, bidding a good night as I prepared myself to rest in. As I laid there in a light slumber before setting an alarm, I laid there peacefully, half awake and half asleep, when I heard a loud crash coming from Neon's room. So I got up from my bed, pulling on a shawl before going out to check on her. I got to her room to see her throwing a fit about the fact that she didn't want to go to sleep and wanted to spend more time with father. "Lady YN, you should go back to your room. You are really injured." I heard a voice beside me. I looked to see Melody. I shook my head and walked over to Neon, asking while holding her hands, "Would you sleep if sister sang to you?" She shook her head as I thought for a second. "If you sleep now, you'll have more time to spend with father tomorrow. And if you want, sister will sing you to sleep." She thought for a second, then agreeing, before I tucked her into bed and sat on the top corner, patting her head as I sang. "There will come a soldier, carries a mighty sword. He will tear your city down, oh, there will not a more, oh, I finished singing to see her asleep before standing up, a little out of breath from singing, causing me to wobble. I held myself up by leaning against the wall, while a male guard approached me. He wore an open vest with a pair of brown pants as he offered me to bring me back to my room. But I declined, thinking of going back on my lonesome before walking out the room and to the hallway leading to my room. I made it back to my room, laying on my bed. But after a while, I couldn't for some reason understand the reason, but I could not sleep. As I laid there thinking, I looked out to my balcony, watching the moon and the stars before deciding to go out there to watch them instead, while drinking a cup of tea, humming to another odd tune, while the wind blew against my skin, pulling up a few strands of my hair. Okay, thank you for making through that video. I'm sorry about the singing. I'm not that good at it, and I haven't been talking a lot during this whole quarantine thing. Also, the word. What was that word again? Fuck. Credits to the original artist of the song and credits to the artwork. If you have any requests, link it down below. I am thinking of avoiding MHA if possible. Too many MHA everywhere right now. And I will be writing a Promise of Neverland story soon. Tell me who's your favorite character, and I might do it about them. So thank you for surviving this chapter. Chapter 1's linked down below. I hope you like the story, and if you don't, well, thumbs down right there.